Congratulations on this, Dallas, because this is the kind of stuff that I've always wanted to have on television, and so many people are embracing The Chosen on CW.
Oh yeah, thank you. It's really fun to watch, and like you said, I agree. I this is the kind of thing I've wanted to and looked forward to as well, to see The Chosen not relegated into one niche, but to just be out there among every other show and be getting taken seriously like that. It's been really cool to see.
You're showcasing so many different levels of the big story, and that's what I love about it, is that you humanize it. It's not just words in a book and our interpretation of what we're receiving, but rather you've got moving pictures here in front of us.
I would say if there's one thing that has most defined and explained The Chosen's success, it's what you just said, the human aspect of it. We hear that word more than any other. And what's funny is you'd think that wouldn't be all that radical. People saying, wow, I love this show because it's so human.
Yeah.
Well, of course it's human, but we've oftentimes relegated some of these people as religious figures, something you'd see in a stained glass window or a statue. And I think we're helping remind people that they actually were living, breathing human beings, and they didn't speak in King James English.
Yeah, because most of the time, I mean, I love my pastor, Stephen Furtick at Elevation Church, and he's very animated in the way of bringing the stories forward. But then it's like painting the picture inside our imagination. You know, when you have a story like the lady at the well, when Jesus walks up to her and starts talking to her, I mean, I want to see that. I want to embrace it, and I want to experience it as it's happening.
Yeah, and that makes it feel and remind you that it really is real. And
yeah.
In fact, you mentioned Stephen Furtick. A couple of his sermons have actually influenced certain aspects of my portrayals, because one of the things that a good pastor will do is they will give you the context, and not just the historical context, but sometimes the human context. And you'll go, oh my goodness, yeah, that's how I would have reacted, or that's what I would have needed to hear. And that's what we're portraying here.
What did you feel in your heart when all of a sudden the picture screen becomes a movie screen?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's it really is kind of a surreal experience sometimes when when you're sitting in a room with 100 people or whatever, and you're watching these stories come to life, or whether you're watching it home alone or watching it on a small screen, either, or even just an iPhone. I think you can't really ultimately compete with the experience of watching it with people, but either way, the stories are going to hopefully pierce your heart, and you're going to feel like you're engaged directly with them.
Yeah, I would like to see how many people who aren't true followers walk in there and watch this, because I still think that they love adventure. I think that they love drama, and they'll buy into that, and then in a very creative way, the message will be shared.
Yeah, I have to say, if I stepped back objectively for a second and forgot about the fact that I'm the one who made this, I will admit I've never seen a project in my lifetime that we use the term cross the chasm in this way. Meaning, I mean, the majority of our cast and crew are not believers. A good chunk of our audience that's starting to discover the show, particularly on the CW. Particularly the fact that it's been in theaters, season 4 will be coming in theaters as well, is people are coming and saying, okay, I didn't grow up in church, or maybe I grew up in church, but left the church, or I'm not currently a believer, but man, this is a human story. Seeing the reaction that we've been seeing from Jewish people who are,
yes.
are whether it's Orthodox or mainstream Jewish people, just saying, wow, these are Jewish stories, and I didn't know that, or I didn't remember that, and this is extraordinary. That's been, I think, probably the most fun and impactful and gratifying thing to see, is that this is not just for traditional churchgoers. At the very least, even if you're not a believer for now, or even if you won't be, you can appreciate these stories and be impacted by them significantly. And then the rest is up to God.
I'll tell you, it reminds me so much of a book that I still cherish even today, and that is, it's the Reader's Digest. And what they did was they broke down all the different groups of people featured in the Bible, so that you understood who they were, where they came from, and their journeys of why they did what they did and how it all became. And it just opens up my heart to be able to really relate with that, because you do get to see that, that life isn't 2023. Life was way back then too.
That is a great point. And that's another thing that I think we're really trying to do, is say 2,000 years ago, their questions are the same as yours. Their experiences are the same as yours. Their doubts, their struggles are the same as yours. It actually feels very modern in that sense, even though we do capture the first century authentically. But it's because of that human connection. And the viewer says, okay, I'm Mary Magdalene, or I'm Simon Peter, or I'm this religious leader who doesn't believe, or I'm, maybe a Gentile like some of the Romans who don't necessarily believe, or who are in conflict about what they're doing. And we do feel, and we have heard this, that there's someone for everyone in the story that someone can relate to.
Oh yeah, I mean, just casting the net over the side of the boat to have all the fish. I mean, that in itself. I mean, we've heard the story a million times, but then to see the story, it's almost like you take everything that you've learned, and now you shape it in your own heart. I mean, there's a connection here that is so difficult to explain, but you just know in your heart that all your years of study are paying off because you're watching it.
Well, yeah, and the biggest thing is then what happens is people will watch it, and whether they've read it before or whether they haven't, they end up going back to the Bible and looking at it and going, oh my goodness, that story that I've heard, or sometimes I haven't heard before, it feels like it's coming to life. Now, the Bible's always been alive, but I think the reader now, more than ever, is going, oh goodness, I get it. I can picture it, and it's real and it's authentic, and wow, that could have been me.
Or the part that I keep hearing people go, it's just too poetic to read the Bible. I'm going, do you see the story? No, I can't get beyond the poetry. And I'm going, poetry? And then when you see something like The Chosen on CW, I'm hoping that they see that there is a story there. Get beyond what you think that you're reading.
Right. And I think also sometimes the Bible, they'll describe it as poetry. Perhaps they've read the King James Version, or perhaps they've, and sometimes you'll see a Jesus portrayal, and then Jesus is talking in King James English, as I mentioned before, and it does distance you from the humanity of the people. And that's not to say I don't love King James English. I'm just saying that you have to sometimes get past that to remember that. Yeah, they weren't walking around quoting scripture all the time. Mm-hmm. They actually had lives and spoke like normal human beings. And so when you remind people of that, that again takes these real people down from the stained glass windows and hopefully into your home and recognizing that this is real, and I can understand this.
Listeners need to understand that this isn't just a Dallas thing. I mean, this was funded it's a crowdfunding effort here that everybody came together to make this even possible.
Yeah, when you watch it on the CW, like any other TV show, it's easy to forget, or especially if you didn't know, that season 1 was crowdfunded for $10 million from 16,000 people all over the world, shattering the all-time media crowdfunding record, but based on a short film I did for my church's Christmas Eve service on my friend's farm in Illinois, 20 minutes from my house. I did this short film about the birth of Christ, and it went viral. And at the end of it, I said, "Hey, looking to do a TV show," and kind of in this vein where you see the stories through different perspectives, and people just responded to record-breaking degrees. And since then, the show has been free. We decided after season 1, when people were having a hard time finding it, and we ended up putting it on YouTube in a live stream, and just said, all right, it's free. You can pay for it if you choose, and if not, you don't have to. And the show exploded at that point. And now that it's on the CW and people turn it on, they're like, oh, this feels like a normal show. Yeah, it hasn't been funded like a normal show. I'll say that.
I mean, the thing is that you've raised the bar on faith-based productions, because I mean, there for a long time they had kind of a running theme, but this really takes it to a new level of play.
sitting there writing or directing, thinking, all right, how do I make this better than normal Christian stuff? Or how do I make this feel different? Now you're no longer thinking about just making a good TV show. You're thinking about how to please the audience the most you can. And I think that would be the wrong thing for the show.
Now, how did you gain the confidence to get into that mode of thinking? Because, I mean, that doesn't just happen overnight. That's a lot of soul searching.
Yes, soul searching, that's the result of failure. We say often that this show was birthed from failure. Back in 2017, I had my biggest career failure and one of the worst moments of my life when the movie that I had been so passionate about got released nationally. I was working with big Hollywood production companies, big Hollywood producers, and it totally bombed. And I thought I would never make another movie or TV show again. And what happened was God met me there. Yeah. And I truly, for the first time in my life, was willing to never make another project if that's what God wanted. I was willing to do that. And what happens is when you truly surrender and when you truly say, okay, as long as I am doing what you want me to do, and as long as I'm just focused on, we talk about this a lot, my loaves and 2 fish, from the story from the Bible, I'm responsible for 5 loaves and 2 fish. The multiplication isn't up to me. When you truly believe that, it becomes a superpower.
Oh my God, I love that story.
I genuinely don't care about the criticism, and I genuinely don't believe the highest amount of praise. And so when you're writing and directing and thinking, I'm not going to try to avoid criticism and I'm not going to try to gain praise. I'm simply going to try to make the best show that I can that honors the character and intention of Jesus in the Gospels. Then my job is done when that takes place. It really you talk about the confidence. That's where the confidence comes from.
Have you had that conversation with God yet in the way that it's like, okay, put it in a language that all people will listen to. They'll feel my energy when it moves through you to them.
Sure, and absolutely. Although I do confess it wasn't that explicit, but yes, my confidence comes from the fact that when I was in Israel, I was actually in Magdala, Mary Magdalene's birthplace, and it's one of the few times in my life where I felt like I was hearing from God explicitly, not just in God's word, and so I was at a synagogue that they'd uncovered that was 2,000 years old. And I just felt like God putting it on my heart so powerfully and clearly. This is the story of my people. This is the story of my followers, and I'm not going to let you screw it up.
Yep.
And that's where, again, some of that confidence comes from. It's overwhelming at times when you think, boy, I feel like God's handed me the keys to this story to share through audio and visual means to the world. Obviously, it's not a replacement for the Bible, never will be.
Right.
But my goodness, that's a huge weight to carry. But then every time, so often, I can't tell you, Errol, how many times I have just seen it over and over that sometimes my own instincts might get in the way, or my own ego, or my own decision making that might have been wrong, and God does something to take that away from me, or to overrule me, mm-hmm. and something else comes along in the storytelling or in a casting decision or in a production decision or whatever, and it's so much better than I would have done. And I'm like, yeah, I do believe that's what he told me 5 years ago, is that he wasn't going to let me screw this up.
And I'm sure you've had the same moments that I have where it feels like that nothing is going right in the production. I mean, even pre-production, post-production, during the writing, and all of a sudden you just go, okay, God, I don't know what you want me to do here today, but I'm trying, but maybe I'm trying too hard. You show me the way, and I'll be the student.
That's beautifully said. My wife refers to these as Red Sea moments. This has happened no fewer than 50 times, which is you get to the edge of the Red Sea. And this is the story from the Bible where the Israelites were escaping Egypt. And they get to the edge of the Red Sea. There's nowhere to go, and the Egyptians are chasing them down. And there's literally no path forward until God says, all right, Moses, strike the rock, and the waves, the water will part, and you can walk through it. And that we call those Red Sea moments where you get comfortable in that spot, knowing, all right, there's literally nothing more I can do. There's only one way to go, and that way is currently a huge body of water that I can't get through. Okay, God, I believe you got me here. I'm trusting you got me here. and I'm gonna wait. And so when the waters part, I'll know it's you, not me.
Wow. Wow. And the goal, number one goal, is to never contradict the real story. I love your strength when I hear that.
Yeah, I mean, may God have mercy on my soul if I'm ever contradicting the character and intentions of Jesus in the Gospels. Now, to be clear, there are many people who will believe and who already believe that I've done that because there are 9,000 different perspectives and denominations and all that on this story. But what we've seen is because of our Bible consultants and people of multiple denominations who've not only seen it but have even given advice on it. And I do believe, and my wife, who's in this journey with me, that so far, and may this always be the case, that we are indeed honoring and putting a spotlight on these great stories in a way that honors God and honors the character and intentions. And may I never be swayed, or may I never lose that goal based on anything other than that. Meaning, I don't want to ever be wooed by the success of the show or the desire to please. That'll cripple it.
I would love to watch people be part of a focus group of some type to watch how people would react to the Lazarus story, because a lot of people don't know that. And I think that there's so much powerful messages, or so many powerful messages in that story of Lazarus.
Well, you'll see it in season 4. We're working on that now. We finished filming season 4 a couple months ago, and I'm actually talking to you on Los Angeles right now, where much earlier than I normally get up, because we just finished the post-production of episodes 1 through 4 of season 4. 4 more episodes to go. And we're going to see Lazarus like we do in season 3. Lazarus is introduced in season 3. Yeah. And again, I'll make this very quick, but this is to the point that you brought up earlier of the humanization of these people. Is we introduce you to Lazarus well before Jesus goes to Bethany and after hearing that Lazarus died. Yeah. And in this season, in season 4, that's going to be coming up in 2024, you also get to know Lazarus more. So it's not like the first time we meet Lazarus is as after his death, which is, of course, in the Bible beautiful and a wonderful moments in the Bible. But if you don't have any connection to him and you've never met him before and you don't know any of the backstory, then it maybe might not have quite as much emotional resonance, even if it has spiritual resonance. And the emotional resonance, I think, is a key part of this, where it can help you go, oh my goodness, okay, Jesus, that's why Jesus wept. Mm-hmm. That's why this story changed the world, because it fast-tracked the death of Jesus. This is the thing. Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead, spoiler alert, is that. So if anyone needs Lazarus in the show, you do need to know he will die and rise again. But leaving that aside, this is what set off the series of events that took place in about a week. Wow. That led to Jesus's crucifixion, because the religious leaders were like, okay, we're uncomfortable with this guy. We haven't liked it. Okay, now he just raised someone from the dead, or at least that's what people are claiming. And now he's got more followers than ever. We got to put a stop to this.
See, my heart has always been on the compassion of Jesus in that moment, because he was being judged. Why did it take him 3 days to go to Lazarus? And because, everybody was against Jesus because they felt he was taking his time. And it's all based on, how much faith do you have? I said I would be there. I said I would be there.
Yeah, John, that's good. John 11:35, the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept, and people have often thought, "Oh, okay, so why did Jesus weep?" And the traditional thought is, well, he wept because his friend was dead.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make any sense, because Jesus knew he was about to raise him. He wasn't weeping because his friend was dead. He was weeping partially because he soon would be. He was weeping also because the people around him weren't getting it. And that included his followers. They weren't getting his mission. He was telling them what was going to happen. They weren't quite understanding. The fact that he had to do this, that he had to allow Lazarus to die, because as Lazarus' sisters were saying, if you would have been here, he wouldn't have died. Yep. And he says, I have to do this so that you can see God's glory, so that you can see what God is capable of, and you can see his hand in this, and you can see my hand in this. and that broke his heart that he had to do that he wished that humanity could just understand his salvation, understand who he was from the beginning. But not only did he have to allow Lazarus to die so that they could see a miracle, he had to die himself as well, and all of that was coming crashing down on him all at once.
Oh, Dallas, I could talk to you all day. Oh, my God. Congratulations on The Chosen. I'll say that 10 million times over and over again, but thank you so much for taking the time to say yes to the calling that Christ has planted inside your heart.
Oh, well, that means a lot. Thank you. And yeah, I do hope that even those to the listener who hasn't seen it yet, it's now very, very easy to find. It's on the CW every Sunday night, but it's also you can find it on multiple streaming platforms. And this is an opportunity to see a show that might change the way you see history.
Absolutely. Well, you be brilliant today, okay, sir?
Oh, well, that's a good. I'll do my best. That's a lot of pressure.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Thanks.